Hey, Aqua friends, we got some fun summertime vibes here. I got this gorgeous ice cream cone, and these colors just scream at you, don't they? Let's get started. We are going to knock this one out step by step. So the first thing I really wanted was, besides just the ice cream cone, I wanted a kind of a splashy background. And you know, I did go through some difficulties with the background, but I kept at it. I did kind of want splish splashes, and in order to mask out the cone, I did use my trusty temporary adhesive paper. Now, if you want, you can also use masking fluid. You don't need a background, but I just kind of thought it would be fun to have a splishy background as well. I'm just kind of like experimenting, guys. I'm splashing water on there, trying to get some wetness on there first before I put in the colors. Now, for the colors, I'm going to use the same colors for the background that I'm going to use on the cone. Now, I'll tell you right away that my mistake was making these splish splash marks way too bright, because then there was no contrast between the background and my cone. So in hindsight, if I was to do it again, I would do the background a lot lighter. But then I came up with the idea of outlining the cone with a black marker. And that kind of made it look like pop art. It was just so much fun. I really kind of love how it turned out. So, you know, do some experimenting, see what you guys think. But I am like splashing my paper with some water. I'm using a toothbrush. And once I got maybe too much water on there, you could also pick up some water with a piece of paper towel or your paintbrush if you start to get some divots in your paper like I am. Now you can splash it as much or as little as you want. You could even cover your ice cream cone with a piece of paper towel and just drop a few drops of paint around the ice cream cone instead of having to worry about masking the whole thing out like I did. So once you're done with your background, we have to let that whole thing dry. And once it was dry, I just peeled off that adhesive paper. And I'm going to start with the ice cream cone itself. It's a very simple palette here. For the cone, I do have some raw sienna. And with the raw sienna, I'm just mixing in, you know, your primary colors. I've got quinacridone red. I also have some cobalt blue. So you will see how I go about adding and changing up the colors. But the first thing to get this really beautiful quality to it is that we're going to work wet on wet. So once you have it nice and wet, I'm grabbing some of that raw sienna and I am dabbing that in there. Now I'm going to take a look at that reference photo that we have. And there are some lighter areas and there's some darker areas. Maybe where I want the cone to be a little bit more flashy, I do have cadmium yellow. So you always want to continue changing up your colors using a little bit of different strengths of paint, changing the color slightly, grabbing a little bit of that red. Now we got a cone that is pulling a little bit more on a peachy side. So as I'm working, I want to make sure that I'm using thicker amounts of paint as my paper is drying, so that I have more vibrant paint on the paper here. Now there's going to be a dark band area where the ice cream cone kind of folds in on itself. And to make that shadow, I am bringing in a little bit of red and blue with my yellow. So you mix all those together, you will get a shadow color. They kind of all cancel each other out. It will become dark. And while it's wet, it kind of will spread all by itself a little bit. And it looks so natural, guys. Now I'm bringing up that darkness. I'm adding in some darker areas on my ice cream cone. So we give it some 3 dimension. All right. So We have some more darker areas towards the right-hand side and in the middle. And I'm keeping my eye on my paper, have all these ideas in my head, and I am running out of time, folks. Now, of course, the waffle cone is perfect to get those striation lines in there. I do want to use my script liner brush and pull out some of those lines while it's still wet. But it did dry pretty fast on me. But nonetheless, I did pick up my script liner brush, and with a damp script liner brush, folks, it has to be damp, not completely soaking wet, or you'll make a big bloom and you'll wreck your pretty ice cream cone, okay? So I'm following my reference lines that I have done in pencil, and I kind of like how that is shining through on the paper too. It just gives it some realism. But as much of the paint that I could pull up with a damp script liner brush, I'm doing. And I'm trying to do it quite quickly in order to get some lighter areas. Now, I tried it on the very bottom part of the ice cream cone, and that was completely dry, so forget about that. Now, when your ice cream cone is completely dry, you can further lift by using a flat brush that's very teeny tiny and damp, and you can tease out more paint if you wanted to. But I am just going to go for the top clump of ice cream, which is a purple. So in my palette, I had a couple of purples that I thought would go well from what the reference photo looked like. I think I got cobalt violet. I will have those listed in the description of the video. But you will see quickly that when I used this purple, this pre-made purple, I really was not too happy with it. I'm picking up some of the water that's on my ice cream cone. It was a little bit too wet, but here I go. I'm starting to drop in this purple, and it is a good base color, but as I was going on, I thought it would be much prettier making my own purple. And you do want to change up the colors constantly. Like I said, that's going to add interest. I just don't want it to be one solid purple. So along with the purple, I'm going to bring in a little bit of my quinacridone red, and I'm going to change things up so that it's a little bit more on the berry side. And then I can also maybe bring in a little bit more of that blue, so then it's a little bit more blue purple. And especially on the bottom where there's going to be a shadow from the bottom of the ice cream cone. So here I am playing around. Okay, picked up some pink, and yeah, that's not, I mean, it's okay. It is changing things up, but I'm really realizing how I screwed up with that background. Even though I love the background, don't get me wrong, it's just the ice cream is not going to pop like I wanted to. And of course, then I went and used a dirty brush to try to just blend that out a little bit. So I was starting to get pretty frustrated. Now, in my palette, I do have a beautiful Opera pink, guys. Opera pink is just a gorgeous, vibrant, jewel tone pink. And I'm like, you know what? That's it. I'm making my own purple. So into the Opera and into my cobalt blue, and bam, that all of a sudden, there's the money shot. This is much darker. Just love this purple. This is a much darker purple. It's finally popping against the background. I'm happy with that. It's looking a lot more darker, and I feel like I can work with this. And because I keep going back over it, my ice cream scoop here, it is still lusciously wet. You can see that there is a sheen to my paper, and I can continue dropping in some of these darker areas. I'm not sure what flavor purple ice cream would be, but maybe blueberry and raspberry. So because I have to let that top scoop dry, I am just going to go straight down and do that bottom scoop so that they're not going to be touching at all. I don't have to worry. Same process. Let's get that nice and wet. Take your time. Make sure that the whole area is very juicy wet. You don't want it sopping wet, but you do need it to be wet so that the paint flows. Now, this color that I'm picking up, I think I've been telling you guys it's quinacridone red. I actually have quinacridone scarlet, which is a peachy color, and this is the base for this ice cream. It is a beautiful pinkish peachy color, and when I want to increase that saturation of the pinks, I do have quinacridone red right beside it. So I'm mixing up and making things darker. I have light areas, I have dark areas. It's going to draw the eye. It's interesting. It's not just one solid color. So I'm also looking at my reference photo. I'm kind of seeing where these darker chunks are and just dabbing in that paint where I feel like it needs it. A little punch color here, little punch color there. Especially kind of outlining the very bottom. There's going to be a shadow there, so that bottom part of the ice cream I'm trying to make a little darker. And notice I always have a piece of paper towel in my hand, so you're always adjusting the moisture of your brush. My brush, you see how flat it is? It's because I squeezed out the moisture. My paper is drying and I want a very thick consistency of paint so that it's actually going to be nice and dark on my paper. So when you want darker paint, use less water. All right, so to get that middle scoop in there, which kind of reminds me of like a cotton candy ice cream, it's this gorgeous teal color, a warm blue, I guess you could say, with really, really fuchsia pink chunks in it, and it's just gorgeous. So here we go. This is our last scoop, folks. We are in the home run, getting this nice and wet. Now I have to keep in mind that there are really bright chunks of pink in there along with the blue. So when I put my blue down, I am going to leave white spaces. Where I'm going to leave the white spots is where I'm going to drop in that really bright fuchsia ochre color that I have in my palette. I think this is, I don't know if this is like a cobalt turquoise. I have all my paints laid out, and I will put the names in the description of the video so you can check out exactly what I used. But notice I'm being gingerly here, and I'm leaving some good amounts of white areas because I know I want to really make some really bright pink areas with that ochre color. In fact, instead of re-rinsing my brushes and going back and forth between the two colors, I'm actually double fisting it, folks. And I, on the sidelines, I got the other brush that it's fully loaded with that. Oh, it's actually in my mouth. Okay, I'm multitasking here. So yeah, I got the blue brush, I got the pink brush, and I'm kind of like flip-flopping between them. I'm adding in those bright colors. This is the brightest part of this ice cream cone. I just love this blue color. It's like a turquoise blue. It's my favorite color. Fave, fave, fave. It's always been my favorite. Now, if I want a darker blue, I can add in some of that cobalt blue just to change up the blue color a little bit. Okay, so that is what we have so far. Now, that composition, it blends in too much with itself. Like it's a cute cone, but it's just not gonna be a good painting if I left it just like that. So the only way to save this now, you could maybe also outline it in white. You could use a thicker outline, which I may try and go back over it with a thicker marker. But for sure, it really separated the ice cream cone from the background. So it was an absolute must that I did this step. And like I said, guys, if you don't want to do the background, then you can just skip the whole background altogether. And your ice cream cone, it will just absolutely pop off the page. By using all these bright colors that we used, it'll just look fantastic. But either way, this kind of reminds me of pop art, with the colorful background and then these hard edges and in the black outline. It's kind of fun and young, punchy, youthful art. Makes me feel like 16 again. No, I'm just joking. I am hungry for ice cream now, though. What is your favorite flavor? Now, I'm from Canada, and they had Farquhar's ice cream up there. They have maple walnut, which is to die for, guys. Another one of my favorites is butter brickle, and it's like a butterscotch that has teeny tiny pieces of candy that just crumbles. It's just the perfect texture, and it adds a great little crunch to the ice cream. So coming around, I'm just flipping my paper as I go because I didn't want to run my hand through the marker and smear anything. So that turned out really nice. Look at how much that pops off the paper. I think I'm going to go over it again and do it even darker line and see how that works. So thank you so much for watching today. I had so much fun talking about this project with you. I hope you get inspired to paint your own ice cream cone, and drop me a line. Let me know if you have any questions. I will see you guys next time.